Hey Dreamers, welcome to the Dreamers Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Pardo, as always, and we're here recording in the studio with me, as we've been doing for quite a while now. My Robin to his Howard, Matthew Borelli. I don't know why it's a change. You know what it is? Because your Facebook profile says Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've ever called you Matthew in my life.
No, I don't think you ever have. No, it's just, Matt's easier, it's quicker, it's more to the point. We're very efficient here on the Dreamers Podcast. So
we try to be. So this week, coming up later on in the show, I have the awesome and amazing, the incredibly talented Tom Ameen, who's been on the show. I think he's almost at a record-setting amount, aside from you, Matt, and aside from Al Kessel, who does the outros for each episode and used to do the intros, but I've shortened up the intro to make room for this pre-show that has taken, sometimes takes up to an hour to record. So, Tom Ameen has been on the show several times before. I don't know which episode numbers in the past, but if you go to superjoepardo.com and check out or check out the search button in the top right-hand corner. Click on that, type in Tom, and it's Ameen. You can go check out all the past episodes of Tom Ameen. So stay tuned after the pre-show. An awesome catch-up interview with the wonderful Tom Ameen. Actually, he just had a new album come out. It's called Journey to the Stars. So we talked about that, and it's a dedication to Star Wars. So if you love Star Wars, he even got to write his own original song for the album. That if he was writing a Star Wars song, this is his song. So really love it. It's a great album. You should go check it out on Amazon. If you're not following me on Facebook, apparently, and I didn't realize this until just this morning, Matt, that I can live stream from my Facebook page. So, you don't have to go to facebook.com/PardoJoe. You can just go to facebook.com/Pardo, Pardo, and follow me there, because now you'll be able to get these live streams on Monday of the Dreamers Podcast pre-show that comes out on Tuesdays. Yeah, Tuesdays. Man, it's a mouthful. Facebook.com/Pardo will get like that page, and you'll get these live streams in your feed, which is awesome. I'm always happy to have people jump in, and we have comments, and I try to interact, but at the same time it's hard, right? Because listening to the show as a podcast, you can't see the comments, so sometimes it's tough to make that connection there. But so go do that on Mondays. We are never on time with this. Not that we're on time, because we don't actually set a time for when we're going to record on Mondays.
Maybe that's something we should start doing, because I feel like these recording sessions are getting later and later. Am I mistaken? Because I think last week it was 3:30. This week it's 4:30.
It's 4:30. Yeah, it was late. I would like to. The problem is on Mondays, there's so many things that have to be done.
Yeah.
I had to go to the post office because I'm still hashtag everything pays rent, and I'm slowly, I need to get more things listed. I still have a ton of stuff to list, but I'm slowly inching my way to that $12,000 number in sales. So we're getting there. And then then we have the baby, and we have did we get sleep last night, and there's just so many things that just that crop up with the fact that we're not always able to get this off 8 a.m. on Mondays, come check us out, or 4 p.m. on Mondays, come check. It's just whenever it is, it's the pre-show. I have loved, though, Matt, not just doing this with you, and not just getting to be able to give my own thoughts and my own, not just input on these interviews, but coming up with these topics. I've really have enjoyed it. I know that I've gotten a lot of great listener feedback from it, and I really enjoy doing it. But the thing I love most is not only just getting to do it with you in the studio, but getting to do it the day before the episode comes out is really nice, because I can keep up with because this interview I did with Tom wasn't yesterday, right? This was probably I don't know, a month or two ago at this point. So So which is great. And I love doing those interviews and being able to can them just in case something comes up. But to me, it's awesome just to be here in the studio with you doing this thing. How's the experience been for you, Matt?
I think it's great. I mean, it's interesting for me. I'd never participated in a podcast before, so it's definitely been a new experience. And I guess it's a chance to kind of touch base and find out what's going on with each other. Although we see each other pretty frequently, we're usually so busy dealing with the here and now. It's and plus we're both always so busy. It's so easy for things to kind of get left behind. This is sort of a good way for us to catch up, and it's informative for all parties.
That is true. Paul in the chat room, and Paul has been on the show before, back in like episode, I don't know, like 16 or something like that. It was a long time ago that Paul was on the show, but he was saying that he likes the idea of live listener questions, and I do too. And that's one of the things, like being able to interact. Like I said, sometimes some things are a little lost in translation when you make the jump to the podcast, like audio only. But you can go to youtube.com/DJRom, ROM, and that's where on YouTube I wanted to say classified. I don't know why. Categorized, playlisted these live streams so that you can watch them after the fact, just in case there's anything that might get lost in translation. The big news for me is that on May 20th, if you haven't heard, the second anniversary of Dreamers Podcast, the live event. I've talked about this the last several weeks. So last year we raised $600 for Give Kids the World. It's a wonderful organization. Go to givekidstheworld.org to go find out more information. But basically, they bring kids down that or have life-threatening illnesses, and they come with their families for a whole week, and they get to go to Disney and Universal and SeaWorld, and they get ice cream for breakfast, and it's awesome. And I've said this so many times, but like I can't harp enough how awesome of an organization it is. It's a very great time for the kids to just be kids when they're going through all these doctor visits and all that stuff. So yeah, so if last year we raised $600 in 2 hours, this year what we want to do is 3 hours, and we're going to try to raise over $1,000. I think that we can do it. We'll be playing games for charity, Minute to Win It games. We'll be utilizing blab.im, which is like blab.com, but blab.im. Which uses your Twitter handle or your Facebook login to get in there. So you'll be able to live video chat with us and participate in these games. For every game that is accomplished, every person that accomplishes the game, I'm donating $10 of my own money to Give Kids the World just to get it going. So I forget how much I had to donate last year. I was actually surprised at how little I actually wound up donating, because so many other people donated on top of that to get that 600 number. So it's really exciting. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I think Rich Quick is gonna be here in the house performing. I haven't heard from him, so if Rich Quick hears this, come on out. Paul's saying that last year was a lot of fun. It was. We had a really brilliant time. We had this big party at the house. If you haven't watched it, I think it's like dreamerspodcast.com/1 year maybe will work. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's superjoeparter.com/1 year. I'm not really positive, but there is a video of it. It's on YouTube. If you go back through youtube.com/DJRom, you can go and watch the whole video. It's going to be a lot of fun, especially with the ability for the internet to get involved so easily and for the word to spread. I really think that we're going to be able to knock it out of the park and raise a ton of money this year. So are you going to be able to be there, Matt? It's a Friday night, it's 7 p.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to give a tentative yes unless something comes up, some kind of family emergency. Yeah, I can awesome.
Be there.
Yeah, we'd love to have you here in the show. Like I said, it'll be one more person in the studio to play games and take some more take money out of my pocket and give it to charity. So really, really looking forward to it. Like I said, this year we weren't able to have a big party at the house like we did last year. We had pizza and we had a cake and all that. But with Ava being here, it's a little bit difficult to plan for something like that. But nonetheless, we're going to have an amazing time across the internet raising money. Absolutely cannot wait. So I wanted to say a listener, Sammy, wrote to me about, and she mentioned a service called raise.com, raise.com. And basically what it seems like to me is it's a way for you to buy gift cards for services or things that gifts that you would give to people. And I'm looking it up here, right on the front of the page. It's the Home Depot, Lowe's, Macy's, Dell, TJ Maxx. And apparently they I guess they have their discounted gift cards. I thought that they actually give money to charity on top of that. So I'm not sure, but I thought it was a pretty neat. I thought it was pretty neat. I guess it is just a buy and sell for gift cards, like a marketplace for gift cards, which is cool, right? If you let's see, get paid, blah, blah, blah. I could have swore that I saw that there was something, it had something to do with charity. Like buying gift cards and then they donate so much of that to charity. So now I'm feeling kind of silly. But either way, it seems like pretty cool because you can get a pretty good discount on 5.9%. On this Kohl's, you can save up to 13% on a Kohl's gift card.
Just blame our research department for this misinformation.
Oh, wait, that's me.
Oh, so...
Thanks, Matt.
You know what? We got to fire you.
Yeah, that's all right. I didn't need this job anyway.
I'm sorry this is the way you had to find out, but
Oh, it's awkward. Or what was it, that robot from South Park? It's like, awkward. Yeah, that's
exactly how it is.
Okay, yeah, so you can check that out. Pretty neat service. I guess if you had gift cards you were trying to sell, that's it seems like a good way to get rid of them if you had no intention of ever using them. This other thing that came up was somebody who was, oh man, I feel bad now. I can't remember who it was, but somebody I was talking to, they were talking to, like, there's somebody I look up to, and they were talking to me about the work that I do, and I just really want to put it out there that how appreciative I am when people take my work seriously, right? Because it's not like traditional work. It's not necessarily tangible work, but to me, it's like it just means the world to me when people take it seriously. It's because I guess I feel like in my own mind that there's so many people out there that wouldn't take what I do seriously, and it's actually kind of depressing. It's actually kind of depressing for a lot of different reasons, not just to me, but like in the world itself, right? That people wouldn't think enough of other people's dreams to be like, oh, that's silly. The only thing that matters in this world is money and money.
Well, there are a lot of jaded people in the world. I mean, that's, unfortunately the way it is. But you got to think.
That's a nice way of saying hater. I mean, that's nice of you, Matt.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of haters too. But what is it? Conor McGregor said, he's like, oh, the haters keep on coming. They're like bricks. I just keep building the wall with them.
Just keep building all. Yeah, that's a good analogy for the time.
Keep it coming.
Well, wasn't he the one that got knocked out in like 2 rounds?
Okay, but yeah, I mean, the guys, every fight up until then, and there's other, there's more to the fight than that. I mean, it's outside his weight class. The guy's an amazing fighter. Don't.
Well, hopefully he can knock out Floyd Mayweather if that actually happens, because that I would be interested in watching.
I think we should get some people together. That's gonna be a great fight, but we're getting off topic.
So anyway, the point is I just really wanted to put it out there that, like, I am super appreciative whenever anybody takes my work seriously, regardless of like who they are, what they do, or how old they are, or whatever. Like, it just means a lot to me, because I know that what I'm doing means a lot to a lot of people, and it brings like I don't want to say seriousness to it, because we're kind of, we're kind of silly here, but it brings like a legitimacy to what I'm doing, the message that I bring, and the focus that I and the spotlight that I put on other people that are accomplishing these things that so many other people are just like, it's okay. Like I'm okay with just making a paycheck and just going about my life, and that's just the way life is supposed to be set up, because it's not. It really, really isn't, and only you can make up that decision, right? But it does take, like, while you should feel good about your decisions and the way you want to set your life up, it does take outside influences to like really pump that up, right? It's like taking a tire that's sort of inflated and then like actually pumping it all the way up to get it going.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be more to life than just survival, than just making a buck. And of course, you can jump in with other topics. There's children, there's religion, there's all these other things, but we're talking about just focusing on you. What is going to make your life better? And I mean, yeah, you can get by just putting in the 9-to-5 daily grind, but I'm sure at some point you had some kind of dreams. You had something that you wanted to do or still want to do, and we're hoping to kind of jumpstart people and say, you know what, it's never too late to pursue your goals or even discover new goals for yourself and just kind of enhance your life. Make why live the bare minimum? Or as Joe once said to me, Matt, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing okay. Just okay? Why aren't you doing great? And at first I was like, what, who you to tell me that? But then I stopped and thought about it. I was like, you know what? Why aren't I doing great? Why am I just doing okay? Like, what could I be doing, or what am I not doing? It really gave me pause and food for thought. And I come back to that every so often. And I'm like, kind of thinking like, I don't know. Things are okay right now, I guess. I'm just kind of like, well, why aren't they better? What am I not doing to enhance myself, or, to bring in more people around me, more positive people like yourself, people that have a goal or a vision, and not just people that are like, if it's not tangible, if I can't see it, taste it, touch or smell, it doesn't exist. It has no, no meaning whatsoever. But it seems like there's a lot of people like that, and you've dealt with them. We've all dealt with them.
Yeah, definitely. No, I appreciate that. And you told me that back, like, what was that, like 2, 3, actually no, it was cold outside, so I don't know. When were we down in Millville together, like 6 months ago or something? 4 months ago, 5 months ago. Anyway, we were out, and you were like, oh, that really meant something to you. And it's funny because when I said that to you, I wasn't anywhere near like where I was going or heading or any like of what I've accomplished, right? Like all that stuff was like not even a thought to me. But right. It's just like what I had in here, that really, I guess, meant something to you, and it should, because we should be great. And look, we all have bad days. It happens. But
it's the way you said it, too. It wasn't just like, oh, why aren't you doing great? But and then move on. Like, you actually stopped and paused and stared at me. Like, you looked into my soul. Like, hey, I actually expect an answer. I'm not just, really, why aren't you doing great? Like, have you stopped and thought about it? Like, I really haven't. Like, until that moment, I was just kind of like, skating along, like, just getting by, really. And it really gave me pause. I was like, there's a lot of little things I could do to turn my life around that I just kind of let fall by the wayside because I get so tunnel-minded on, or, my vision focuses on, like, work, family. And all these things are important, too, but at the same time, there's always time for yourself. It's right. Like, you have a little savings of money, you get a little savings of personal time in your future.
Right. Well, it's funny, really, to me, because I don't remember doing, like, even when you had told me about that, like, I guess a year or 2 or 3 years after it had happened, I don't remember it, like, at all. And I assume I was probably being serious, but I don't know what kind of frame of mind I was in at the time. But I promise you, because I think at that point, like, it was probably around the early time of you working with me, like, in the office.
You were serious. Happened? It was like a deer in headlights moment. Like, you were just like, literally staring at me. I'm like, okay, this is now really awkward.
I honestly do not remember this, but I could. I am appreciative that you remember it, and that it means enough to you to think about it when you are thinking like, well, is everything all right, or what could we be doing better? How do we make it great? To go along with that, right? Like, watching a lot of like Bar Rescue and stuff, and I was trying to explain some of these situations to Melissa. And it's like everything piles on top of each other, and when you have crushing debt, and I've seen this firsthand. When you have that crushing weight of something on top of you, it's really hard to like focus on anything else. Right, so it's easier to like, especially in the case of Bar Rescue, like these owners end up drinking and they end up just kind of like letting it all go, but we do that in our own lives, like whether it's a weight problem. Well, it's yeah, we do, but then we end up just eating more because it's like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, oh, there's always tomorrow, or oh, there's something else, but there really isn't. Like, we don't know that there, and it's so cliche to say, oh, well, you don't know tomorrow's a promise to no one. Like, yeah, you're right. Tomorrow probably will happen for like most. Knock on wood, it'll probably happen for most of us, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be the way we want it to. And that's really becoming their own like master of your own universe, and really like externalizing, and that's like probably not even the right word. Externalizing what's in like the fire that's inside of us to be like, okay, well. We can keep it all inside of us. We can let it eat away at us, and it will. It will. Those things will eat away at you very, very quickly. There's problems of like weight or debt or anything that's like. So then we just start to shut down. Then everything else starts becoming a problem, right? Like things that weren't a problem before become a problem. Like, oh, the laundry didn't get done. Well, everything else is wrong, so why not just accept that bare minimum? Why not just accept that okay instead of like, let's make it great?
Yeah, and because all these things you're describing can lead to depression, and once you've hit that level, it is like a crushing weight where just everything just seems completely hopeless. And it could be financial, it could be a body image issue, it could be romance. I mean, there's any of those things for one person might be just like, I could stand to lose 10, 20 pounds, but for somebody else it's like I need to lose 40, 60 pounds to feel good about myself, so I feel like I have some kind of self-worth. It's a whole different story for that.
You're climbing a whole different mountain, man.
Like, and I'm of the mind that, hey, if something's wrong, you got to get some gumption, go in, take care of things. But at the same time, I'm sympathetic to people who are in a situation where you just feel overwhelmed. It's very difficult once you've hit that point to really pick yourself up again and feel like, hey, you know what, I'm worth investing time into myself, investing effort in myself to be this better person, and not letting. And there will be failures. We'll call them setbacks. Don't letting these setbacks just say, you know what, I'm never going to lose the weight. I'm never going to get out of debt. I'm never going to find that perfect someone, and then just giving up on yourself. And that's really the worst thing that can happen. I've had it happen with family members. I've had it happen with friends. And it's hard to watch, but at the same time, if you see it happen to somebody, it's important for you to, make the extra effort and step in and say, well, not only is it important to work on your dreams, but maybe you can contribute something to somebody else. I don't like to give other people advice, even though I guess I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, well, advice in which you've experienced.
Right, and exactly. If you could say, hey, I went through something similar, or, here's how I dealt with it, found a hobby, joined a meetup group, just, whatever, there's a counter to everything. And right. It's important to always know that there's support out there no matter what you're going through. Believe me, somebody else has gone through the same thing. But don't ever let anyone tell you, oh well, at least you can do this or at least you can do that. You shouldn't feel sorry for yourself. It's okay to feel like crap. Just as long as you can pick yourself up the next day and
yeah, you don't want to make it into like into a habit or to a routine. You don't want it to be a routine.
So I apologize. I don't mean to come off preachy, but that's
no. Well, hey, on this show, we're all about trying to raise people up and bring them to the next level that they can. I'm sorry, we're just being joined by Ava here, who does not look very happy at the moment.
Yeah, again, so you're kind of going from two extremes. You're going from, hey, things are going okay, but they could be better, to like, hey, things are horrible. And so in both cases, you can still either reinvigorate your dreams, rekindle that desire for a better life for yourself, or even just say, you know what, things are at a 9 right now, but they could be an 11 if I just took the time to like lay out a couple of simple goals for myself, attainable goals. And that's the other thing too, is like, you know, I say, all right, I need to make $50,000 in 3 weeks. Well, let's start small.
Well,
you know?
yeah. There's a question that people are like, well, Matt, what if I had to what if you had to make $100 today? Could you do it?
Yes, if I absolutely had to. It really depends on how much you're willing to give up in that case, because while ideally you don't want to have to sacrifice too much to reach your goals, you are going to have to give some things up. Now, again, it could be. And I'm not saying settling, but I'm saying that you're going to have to give away some things like, oh, hey, I need $100 today. I had to sell some items that I want to hold on to.
Okay, well, all right, like outside of that.
Okay.
Outside of selling your own personal items, like, could you make $100 today?
Yeah, you have to get creative. Have to go around and, well, within 24 hours, I guess the first thing I would do is hit up like Craigslist or similar sites and look for any quick jobs. I need somebody to help me with this, or I'll give somebody $20 to do that. Outside of selling things,
well, no, you could sell things, but it would be something that you like, not just your own personal items, like
right.
And this is really like an exercise. I forget who it was that was on my show that asked me that question, and just to give you an example, my first answer to that was like, oh well, I would go into the city, or I would get a bunch of fruit, and I'd buy a bunch of fruit, and then I'd go into the city and sell that fruit and make money, supply and demand and stuff like that. And that's what I would that would be what I would do. But then he was like, okay, well, what if you need to make $1,000? Now, what if you need to make $10,000 in a day? Like, what would you do? Like,
yeah,
and he pointed out, like, it's tough, right?
Yeah, no, that's quite a bit of money to make in one day, especially if you haven't planned for it.
Right, and especially in 24 hours, and if you're only by yourself.
Right.
But his whole point was that he was pointing out that, like, well, I would create like an info product based on whatever I'm an expert at or whatever I have like a ton of experience at. I would create a webinar, promote that webinar, and then go and sell people on that info product. Like, that was the whole point. Like, what if you had to make $1 million in one day? Could you do it? And then, but the whole point is, like, it's all pie in the sky, so that, like, well, you could take part of what you would do and then actually go and do it. Kind of like the whole question of, like, well, if money didn't matter, what would you go and do? Yeah, what would you do?
Oh, then possibilities are endless at that point. I mean, there's so many things to like see and do in the world.
Well, true, but like besides sightseeing all the time, I guess. Well, even then, that could be a job, right? Be a tour guide,
yeah,
or like a travel guide, or a nanny to somebody who travels all around the world.
Or teach a language in a foreign country. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right. The possibilities are endless. But yeah. So it's. I think that what was the original topic? The original topic was how much I appreciate that people when people take my work seriously, especially people that I look up to, because it's it just means a lot to me. Not to get like super off topic, but we did tackle quite a bit there, because actually one of the things I wanted to talk about was procrastination, but we'll save that because I think we started to get down that path.
I want to talk about procrastination, just not right now. We'll get to that, tomorrow or next.
Well, Matt, I don't think I got to tell you. Over the last week, I was looking up articles. I was looking for an article that somebody had written about my grandfather back in like 2002 or 3 or something like that, in the truck parts industry, and this might surprise. I know this is probably going to surprise you. So I was looking on the industry's like truck parts magazine, right? It's truckpartsandservice.com. I did a search for my last name just to see, like, hey, what would come up, right? Well, what I didn't expect, because I was looking for that one article, I didn't find that article actually. Maybe it was from a different publication. I'm not sure, but what I wanted to talk about was how you're never missed until you're gone, and in that, there's an article in there that they wrote about their top 10 articles from 2015. Well, turns out that my family's company being sold to the giant billion-dollar conglomerate in the truck parts industry made the number 3 overall clicked on news for the year.
That's incredible.
It is. And number 1 was actually, so they do like a industry week down in Vegas called like heavy duty aftermarket weekend or something like that, and that was number 1. But the thing was, that was the collective clicks of all of the articles from HDAW week, and the second article was about one of the truck manufacturers coming out with a new truck. So basically, we were the number 2 most clicked article. And actually, I think, if I remember correctly, and I have Ava in my arm here, so it's a little hard to navigate, but I think actually that the number 2 was a collective clicks on a bunch of different articles as well. No, it wasn't. It was about Kenworth winning, they're a truck manufacturer, winning an honor. Winning an honor of, it was the commercial truck of the year. So yeah, basically we were the number 2 clicked on article for the whole year, That single article about the company being sold. Anyway, my point to that is, outside of like, hey, that's pretty cool, right? Because there's plenty of other articles and things that happened through 2015 that didn't make their most clicked articles or most read articles. It's just, it's tough to, it's tough to see how high up you are, right? Until you're off that mountain. And, for me, like when I left, right, like, it didn't seem like I was high up on a from a scale of money perspective, right? It didn't seem like I was on $100 million mountain, because I was too close to the situation. And when I came down off that mountain, I turned around and said, "Whoa!" I didn't realize that that sales mountain was so incredibly large. And I think to myself, like, now I'm like, well, not that I really don't care about money, but I don't know that I would ever need to make that much money in sales, like, to be at $100 million company, because to me, if I'm doing most of the work and keeping most of the money, I don't need that much money, right? Like, I don't need to make that much in sales because I'm the one keeping the majority of it anyway. So it's like, oh, well, if I make $1 million, and like my friend Lee Cockrell said, I only need to make $1 million if I'm keeping 90% of it.
True.
I don't need to make $10 million and keep 1% or 10% of that instead, because I had to pay out so much money to so many people to get all these different jobs done. So that's, to me, is like, that's the thing. It's, you don't realize, like, how high up you are, like, even in your own business, even in your own like today, right? How many people look up to what you're doing, or look at you as like a thought leader until you're, well, in this case, gone, because the company, that part of the company was sold. But it's just, to me, it's just incredible. And I think that the moral there is, like, to not take things for granted. I mean, not that I was taking it for granted, but I guess in a lot of ways I was, even though I wasn't intentionally going out of my way to be, like, ignorant to the fact that we were very fortunate to be, to have a company that was doing so well and so highly regarded.
Oh, I mean, it's incredibly easy to take things for granted. I'd say we all do to some degree, and yeah, it's certainly eye-opening to get outside perspective on things. Or in this case, once you had removed yourself from the business part of the environment, it's like, wow, yeah, you're right. It's like kind of looking back at a mountain, and it does take in a whole new meaning, whole new perspective. Excuse me, really, and even sort of enhances your appreciation for just how much work went into building that company.
Yeah.
And, like I said, to wind up as number 3 on that list, I wouldn't have thought that. But then again, I was only one cog in the machine, and even in my case, there's a lot I didn't see what wasn't aware of what was going on.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to imagine. I mean, I remember being at like our shows. Mm-hmm. We do like an annual like thank you to the customer show, and where we get between 800 and 1,000 people. And remember talking to some of these guys from these other, like from the manufacturers, the reps and stuff like that, and they'd be like, I don't think you realize like how amazing of an operation that you guys have and that you're putting on, because you're just too close to see it, and you also don't go to a lot of, you don't go to your competitors' shows and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. I don't go to my competitors' shows, so I really don't know, and I guess in that way we take it for granted that things, this is just the way things are and the way things are going to be and we're going to be and continue to be, and it's only a matter of time, I guess, before you come down. At some point you come off that mountain and you realize like, whoa, I didn't realize I was so high up.
But in business, it seems to me that it's critical to know what your competition is doing. I mean, because sure, you're putting out a good product, you get a great work ethic, you got great people and all these other things, but if somebody else is being more innovative, if they're getting better deals, I mean, if you're in your own little bubble, it's only a matter of time before you just come along and just, pop it for you.
Well, of course. And again, with the show, it's like, I wasn't going to their shows. We knew what was up with them. I mean, obviously we would talk to manufacturers and stuff like that, but I mean, honestly, that was
But I'm saying, like, but to see it for yourself, I mean, I'm not saying, you, Joe Part, have to go there in disguise and a hat on, but, And
a big mustache.
But just, to get a better... Yeah, because, they would say those type of things, but what meaning does it have to you? Like, what's the context? They've been to both shows. They would know. But again, I'm still getting somebody else's opinion. It's all coming to me secondhand. Until I've actually seen it for myself. Well, what is so different about our show? Like, why do you keep bringing it up? Like, what could we be doing that's so much better than everybody else? I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with the scale and the food. The food selection was second to none, and just the amount of vendors that we had show up and the amount of people that we'd have show up versus a lot of these our competitors would have these vendor nights or these shows where like nobody would show up, or basically they would have them at their store, and that's great. It's almost like an open house. That's awesome. But the thing is nobody was coming because of that. They were coming because they were there to shop. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not like people are going out of their way to show up at a venue that's off-site from your operation for dinner and drinks, and that was everything we had, the open bar. So. And that was my grandfather that put that on, and he was the one that was really the driving force for that to get started. I have pictures. In fact, speaking of which, I want to start releasing some of those pictures like on Facebook and stuff for like Throwback Thursdays. Is it still Throwback Thursdays? TBT?
It's still a thing.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know if it was Flashback Fridays, or I know Daniel Tosh was trying to get TBT, which was Throwback Tuesdays. To be a thing.
Well, that's just crazy.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can never throw back on a Tuesday. But
let's try and keep things grounded a little bit in reality around here. Come on.
So I guess one of the last things maybe.
Real quick, I just want your grandfather also had a lot of interesting sayings, and not.
Yeah.
Well, again, he was a very motivated man. I mean, I just looked at everything he built, and he learned a lot. I remember one thing he said to me, and I hope I'm not misquoting him here, but it was something to the effect of, a hard deal is a bad deal. And he wasn't talking about business when he told me that. And he was absolutely right. There's certain things where you sometimes learn the hard way that if you're just banging your head against the wall over and over again, you gotta stop and think, should I be banging my head against the wall, or should I maybe be walking around the wall and trying to find a different path to get to what I want.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so that had a well, it's actually in my book, 31 Life-Changing Concepts, but it was passed down from not just my grandfather but my great grandfather as well, and because a lot of times if it is hard to make something work, maybe it's not worth it, and you have to constantly be reevaluating that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and you have to think outside the box, or just be at least open to the fact that maybe the way you've been doing things isn't working for a reason.
Well, yeah. Well, the problem is we get too close to a situation.
Exactly.
And it's hard to see, was it the tree through the forest or whatever.
Forest through trees. And it can be hard to take advice from somebody else that's outside the situation. Like, why are you doing it that way for? Like, why aren't you doing this? Oh, my way or the highway. Or better yet, I've always done it this way. Why would I do it any way else? I don't trust your newfangled theories. Get out of here. Well, there's a lot of that going on.
Well, my grandfather was the one that had the hat that said "I'm the boss." That's why. So yeah, no, he definitely taught a lot of what I know, and as well as my dad, my great grandfather passing stuff down. So, you do need to constantly be reevaluating whether or not something is working, and if it's working, is it working the best it possibly could? And that's really something that with like my business consulting, and even before I left my the company, was like, okay, just because we've been doing something for so long and it works doesn't mean that it's necessarily the most efficient way to do it, because technology changes. Use changes, and then you don't always see the things that fall through the cracks. Like, do you have a process for things that don't have a process? Like, how do you handle those things? Or
even just, doing things better. Like, one example I remember at the time was like, Walmart, they have like there's an RFID tag that is attached to their packages. You roll through the warehouse gate, it scans everything immediately into inventory. Nobody has to take it apart. Nobody's counting anything. Like, bam, it's done.
That's some science fiction there.
I was like, it's mind-blowing. Like, it eliminates so much trouble. Just, trying to sit there and like, oh, this guy miscounted, this guy like, but again, it's the little things. And
well, unfortunately, we're so many years later, and RFID tags on everything is still not really a reality just yet. And this was like 10 years ago at this point that I was like, oh my God, like RFID tags, like we're just going to be able to roll things in, and when Walmart takes it over, that means that everybody's going to have access
Amazon.
To it.
I mean, Amazon, this is the new thing they're doing right now, where it's for certain areas. If you're an Amazon Prime member, they have 2-hour or even an hour shipping on certain items, which to me is mind-blowing. I mean, it's going to get to the point where you don't have to leave the house.
Well, actually, was it Mike was just texting me yesterday about Amazon Fresh being available in our area.
Really?
For $300 a year.
I didn't even think to look in this area.
You have access to 15,000 mostly locally sourced produce. And stuff that you would get at like the ShopRite or the local supermarket. So which $300 sounds like a lot, but they're charging about $16 per shipment now from our local supermarket.
Right.
So when it actually comes out to be way less cheaper when you go to Amazon, and chances are Amazon's probably cheaper in general, like on their prices. So
almost always, yeah.
Yeah, and you get the first month for free. So we haven't done it yet. We'll see what happens, but it's kind of scary because man, I hope ShopRite can compete, because I still like to have a store. But if I can get something within 2 to 3 hours sent to my house, regardless, especially once drones come into the picture, come on.
That is a tough thing, yeah. I mean, you want to support the local community. Well, you want to support the local community by supporting the local businesses, but on the other hand, it's convenience.
Yeah.
Where do you draw that line? That's a personal decision. But
it's definitely tough. I mean, I try to spread it around a little bit to keep their stores, or gives them business.
No, because we know people that own local businesses, and it's you want to support them, but at the same time, it's like, oh, but the prices online are so much cheaper. But it's partly a guilt thing, and partly like, hey, you know what? If this guy can't cut it, and I know he's a hard worker, this place just going to sit here and rot for the next 10 years.
and well, we've seen that. We have buildings around us that are still empty. or it's empty for so long that they just end up getting torn down and then rebuilt like something totally new on top of it, which isn't any better because they sat empty for so long in the first place. That's how you wound up with something else on top of it. But speaking of businesses and local businesses, so I admitted something over the weekend on Facebook about the fact that I tear up and/or cry while watching shows about failing businesses. And the reason is because I am so passionate about business in general. Like, seeing places be successful and all that, especially, smaller business, because, we all know that the big guys, well, businesses are designed to make money, right? Like they're not people. They don't have feelings. They only have feelings when money isn't there and all that. But aside from big business, I really like to see small businesses succeed, especially if there's small things like we talked about earlier. It's the small things that you can do to make those things a reality, and make everything work, better. And be more efficient. Not just efficient, but cost less. A lot of times, and honestly, Matt, and I think I've mentioned this on last week's episode, that my third book is going to be about processes and how to maximize your bottom line, because a lot of people are just like, oh, I'll just sell more. Well, guess what? I was just watching a whole documentary on a little company called Tower Records and how the rise and fall of Tower Records happened. And guess what? It was their bottom line that suffered because the sales stalled. For a lot of different reasons. But, in the early 2000s, sales stalled. And all of a sudden it was, we got to basically liquefy everything we possibly can to keep the company going. But truth be known, they knew that there was no company going forward. The banks were like, no, you need to bring in this person. They're going to restructure your company. And they know that they're there to basically just wipe the company out. Including the fact that, did you know Tower Records still exists?
I didn't know that, no.
In Japan, there's like 86 Tower Records across the entire the country of Japan.
Somebody was telling me the other day that Blockbuster apparently still has some retail stores open, which
I heard about that. I forget where I see it on like a blog or something. Like somebody was taking pictures of a Blockbuster that still exists.
I kind of want to walk in one just to get hit with the popcorn smell and just it's like a time machine back to the 90s.
Well, I wonder if it might be it's privately owned and somebody just bought the name, or just was like, well, if nobody owns the name anyway, like no one's gonna sue me for using the name Blockbuster. It's got national recognition with nobody behind it that can do anything about it. Look, things change, right? Like we were just talking about, like possibility of drones, and Amazon now has produce and they can deliver the same day, and things change.
It just goes, like you see, sales alone will not save your business, and I think Blockbuster is a great example of that. Everybody knew Blockbuster, and then suddenly, poof.
Well, yeah. It was a long road to poof. A long, long road.
I know.
So, coincidentally, the guy who created Blockbuster also was in the trash industry, which I knew quite a bit about because of the fact that we were in the heavy duty trucking industry / trash business and all that. So I didn't personally know him. He's a very rich individual, but it just goes to show you that diversifying is one of those things that you can do to make. To increase your bottom line and increase your chances of survival, because everything changes. No matter how much conservatives would like things to not change, things change. Like technology changes, people change, habits change, trends change, everything changes.
All the time. Like every, day things change. Heck, trending on Facebook changes,
Next
week your name could be Steve. Things change.
Yeah, there you go. My name could be Steve next week. So the point of the book is to help people figure out that, like, you can't just sell your way out of every problem. And yes, you can, but at a certain point, like, your sales will plateau. And if your business isn't optimized to run on the most the least amount of money, the best, most efficient processes, the best technology for the dollar, right? Because there's there's ways to repurpose technology that's free out there. You don't have to like be like, oh, I got to invest like $100,000 or $75,000 in this computer system. Like, there's free ways out there. There's free programs out there. Are they the best and most efficient ones? Not necessarily, but that depends on your business. It depends on your use case. It depends on a lot of different things that maybe you could get started using. And when you prove the concept of like, well, we weren't using a computer at all, now we're using a computer. This isn't like, well, I made this $40,000 or $50,000 investment. I hope it works out because we weren't using computers before. Now we're using computers. But we had nothing to base on whether or not like people would actually go about using it, especially if you have employees, right? Because employees, especially ones that have been there forever, can be really slow to want to change and to see the light of what the change can bring.
Very reluctant, yes.
But the thing is you can work people over if you by doing it slowly. Like, I've learned this firsthand. Like, was in screaming matches and it was not great. It was not good for me. It was not good for the employees. But I learned a lot from it. And I think that in some ways, actually, I know for a fact that quite a few of them learned a lot because after the company was sold, things changed an awful lot. Like, it took what I had already put in place and took it to the extreme. And it made people even less happy than, like, they felt like what I was giving them was a lot of leniency to a program now that had zero leniency. Which I knew that going into it, that I knew that I was giving leniency to the employees to do what it is that they wanted to do, but at a certain point, when you make that transition to $1 billion company, like, oh, now you're in $1 billion fold, there's no leniency because it just is what it is. It's policy, and policies people don't want to bend. Rules can be are made to be broken. You can bend rules, you can break rules, but there has to be rules, right? You can make exception to rules, but when it's policy, people don't like to make exception to policy. People don't like to bend policy because it's policy so that you have a bad guy to point at and say, that's the reason I can't do this. Like in Tony Montana's case. I mean, there's the bad guy.
Like I said, there has to be something where you can say, okay, the buck stops here. This is the bottom line. If we break every other rule, we still can't, make an exception for this. It's like at some point you got to draw that line. And it's difficult because you don't want to alienate your employees, but at the same time, I think if you can find a way to show them how changes will benefit them, it'll sort of ease the transition. Such as saying, hey, today we're doing everything on the typewriter. We're going to throw out all the computers and going to break out typewriters. What the, But if you can give some kind of reasonable explanation for that, hey, the typewriters will save money in electric bills. I can give everybody a 20% raise at the end of the year. Oh, okay, let's break out the ink. It's...
Yeah, I think you're gonna need a little more influencing than that.
Well, yeah, okay, but
or better reasoning than that. But it's things like that though, right? The general idea of what you're saying definitely falls into line. Like, you have to be able to give the benefits and make sure that the benefits really work for them, and get in the trenches with those employees so they see that you're not just like passing along these rules that
absolutely.
Like, okay, now you need to submit your TPS reports 3 ways instead of 2. And it's like, well, wait, why?
Yeah, I mean, if your employees can see that, okay, he's done my job, or at the very least he or she understands my job, they'll have more respect for you. And then if they have more respect for you, they're more willing to listen to what you want to, not so much what you want to do, but how you want things done. It's like, oh, I've seen him... do all this stuff, and he knows how I do my job, so maybe, he's got some ideas I should listen to him instead of like, I'm just going to keep doing it the way I'm doing it until they finally,
well, I've been doing it this way for 20 years, so why would I want to change?
Right.
I know the best way, but the thing is you don't necessarily know the best way because you don't necessarily know all the technologies. You don't know how the software works. Like, there's so many things that you don't know. That's why you have to be willing and open to learning. And you might not agree. You might find better. The way I always say is the old way is the foundation for the new way. Mm-hmm. So, if you were doing stuff on paper, but now that paper has been digitized, but that digitization makes it so you could search for it in like a second, that's a huge impact. That can save tons of time flipping through notebooks.
Right.
That can save money by not buying notebooks. That can save all these things, like, can add up to be huge changes. And that's, it's not always easy, but that's why I want to write this book. But we really got off the topic of why I cry when watching shows about failing businesses.
But that's something to get upset about, especially if you can't get your employees on the same boat as you, and then it's just going to lead to all kinds of problems. I mean, okay, yes, I accept the fact that you have a way that works. You've been doing it for 20 years. Yes. As long as you'll accept the fact that I have a way that you can do this better, more efficiently. There's got to be some kind of happy medium we can meet at.
Yes, and you don't always have to go. And that was the other thing. A big thing I learned was you don't always have to go at 100 miles an hour with changes. Like, ease in the changes. Show the changes that let them work over time. Though sometimes we get panicked when we're like, hey, we have this great way. It's going to save so much money. It's going to do all this awesome stuff. Let's just do it tomorrow. That's a lot. You're asking a lot of people, and even people that maybe necessarily didn't work there forever. But maybe they're a little bit older and they didn't come from a place that had computers, or they didn't come from a place that had this specific system that you're working with. You might be asking a lot of those employees to, like, all of a sudden it's a big change all at once, like
right.
Turning it up over the course of a year, going and showing like a roadmap, getting people comfortable with this idea, like, okay, we're going to do this, and then in 2 months we're going to do this, and then a month later we're going to do this, and then 4 months later we're going to do this. And it's like you go in the process of the stages and you break it down for them so that they can understand it. Because a lot of times these small changes that are up, like high level up, like small changes, are big changes for like when you get down like in the lower tiers of a business. Like one example would be like, oh, well, it shouldn't be any problems for you to type all of these things into the computer, and also keep a written record of them. So now you're writing them, which you were doing before, and everything was okay that way. But now you're going to type them and write them.
Things were just okay. Why weren't they great?
Well, they weren't great because we were spending a lot of money on paper, pens, a lot of time trying to figure out, like, find this paper afterwards. When we have employees that we need to plug in from other locations, they have no idea what's going on. They can't just at a click of a button see everything that was ordered or what's going on, like, get a pulse for what's going on. So
there's a lot of room for improvement. It's not just one thing, and there's all these little things that make up the machine, all these little parts, and it just it takes somebody to take a little bit of initiative and have a little imagination, say, you know what, I had an idea. How can we implement this? How can we improve things here, which improves things for everybody, not just for myself, but for my entire company? And, as long as it trickles down, everybody's happy.
Yeah. So the other thing, with the whole, like, failing businesses, there's the family aspect. There's always a family that's impacted, especially when it's smaller businesses. There's always or employees, employee families that are affected, communities that are affected by having an empty store front in their area. There's so many things that just makes me so upset and so frustrated to watch these things, because it's like, to me it's like, oh well, let's dive in and make these changes and really do the research and figure out what's the best way to go about fixing these problems, rather than just ignoring them until it's no longer ignorable, which is tough. So it definitely pulls on my heartstrings, because I really am passionate about helping people, make the most out of their business, and helping communities make the most out of the businesses that they have in their. Which is funny that I live in a town that is so small business unfriendly, because we have so few small businesses in our town, or businesses in general in our town, that it's funny that I would live in a town like that.
Oh, man, that's something that needs to be looked into, is why do we have so few small businesses?
Oh, that's a whole can of worms, man.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, again,
I've been down that road already with.
Somebody needs to ask the question, or...
Oh, no, it's been asked. It's pretty clear why that is the case, unfortunately. But that my town's problems aren't something that we necessarily need to dive.
No, into. I don't expect you to, but just as an example.
Yeah. So we're at like an hour now. So I think we should wrap this up. We'll push procrastination off to the next one. To the next week.
We'll get around to it.
Whenever we get around to talking about procrastination. Though there is an episode about dealing with procrastination. I think it was with Steve Warley. I forget what episode number it is, or Stephen Warley, Stephen. If I had two hands, I would definitely Google it, but I unfortunately have Ava has been sleeping right here.
Oh, I thought that was like the start of a quote. If I had two hands, and then some.
If I had two. It's a pretty depressing quote.
Some kind of uplifting statement. Out. It's like, I never thought about it that way, and then
start out depressing, go to the uplifting.
Well, I had two hands. I didn't realize I could use both at the same time.
Well, wait till she figures that out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so we'll push that stuff off till next week. I did have one other thing, but because you and I actually let's talk about that last thing real quick. So last week we were talking, and you were talking about like why you work so hard at work, right? And I said, well, Matt, if you feel that way, if you feel like I'm working so hard, and why isn't anybody else work so hard, or to the level that I feel that I am? Why don't we? Why aren't you just working for yourself then? Why don't we turn that passion for doing the job as fast as quickly and as efficiently as possible, as best as I can, into this is my business, this is my passion, and I'm taking it to the next level.
Oh, because it comes back to what we were talking about. The difference between just towing the line, just kind of going along with the status quo, and taking a little bit of initiative and some risk, and actually applying that to better myself.
You're shortening your rope there.
Well, and because you're right. I mean, you're absolutely right. There's no reason. I mean, yeah, exactly. Why complain if you're not willing to do something about it? Right? Because I like to hear myself talk.
Well, you do. I mean, you are doing something about it. You're still continuing. Right. You're not buying into I could do the mediocre, I could do the average and just be average, and that's okay.
But the first step is to admit that we have a problem, or we have something that could be improved on, which could. So, and then from there, it's just a matter of like, well, okay, what kind of business would I run? I mean, there's all these little things to be worked out detail-wise, but again, I don't have any argument or disagreement for why I couldn't just go do things myself, because I have a strong work ethic. And if I feel that it's not being appreciated, or I'm not getting, rewarded either in praise or financially, or a combination of the two, why not just take it and move it somewhere else? If I'm going to be working that hard anyway, why not just work for myself? All right? I mean, is that...
Yeah, you are answering your, hopefully you'll feel that way at some point and want to take it to the next level. And turn up the volume. It's
kind of like going back to what we were talking about earlier. I think there's just a certain point where, and not so much with a job, I guess a job could happen too, but you got to hit rock bottom before you really realize, you know what? Man, things were this bad, and it's finally gotten to the point where I just snapped and said, you know what? Time for a change.
Well, hopefully you're not flipping the desk over at that point when you snap.
Well, no, I might like tip over a stapler or something, but that's about as far as I go. I mean, shuffle a couple papers angrily.
Yeah, shuffle. Yeah, that's gonna get somebody's attention. Matt, I hear you shuffling papers over there. What?
Hey, keep it down.
Are you trying to step out of line? No, I don't know what to add to that, because that was a lot of what we were saying. Well, we had a mirror. I have a mirror in our living room, and I told you to turn around and take a look in that mirror.
You did.
And I don't remember what it is I specifically told you to do.
Well,
or no, here you go. Look in the mirror and ask why you are working harder than anybody else and not working for yourself.
And I did, and you know what? My reflection had nothing to say.
Oh,
I was waiting for no, but I mean, like, I was like, I asked myself that question, and waiting for the because, and there was nothing, because there is no good reason, there is no excuse.
I mean, like people like to use the excuse, oh well, it's secure, and it's like, well, not if you're working contract work, because nothing is promised.
Security is a big thing, but security is also a blanket that line is carried around. At some point, you just gotta You gotta leave it behind or throw it in the wash. You know.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot to be said for security, and especially if you're in a situation that for the time being requires it. But you could walk in tomorrow and be laid off. You could walk in tomorrow and be fired because somebody didn't like you.
And why be in that position? Because you always want to be.
Because you shuffled your papers a little too loudly, Matt.
Because two things. One, you always want to be 2 steps ahead. Like the best time to look for another job is while you have a job. That's
of course.
And
starting
2,
a business while you have another job.
Challenging yourself. I mean, going out and starting your own business. I think that's very challenging. And
it's not easy.
It's certainly not easy. But
if it was easy, everyone would do it.
I think it's all the more important to do it, and not just that, but anything challenging. I mean, you should really. Like, I hate to come off the preachy, but just challenging yourself, and I mean just going out and doing anything that is outside your comfort zone is so rewarding. I mean, just any little thing. You got to start somewhere. But you're never going to grow as a person. You're never going to improve as a person if you're just sitting there in your own little safe space, and you just got to poke a toe in the water occasionally and stir up and see what bites.
Well, it doesn't hurt to try something, especially while you have a job that can, afford you the ability and the time to do it. Though, like I said, it's tough if you really need that time to unwind and recoup for the next time you go into work.
Worst case scenario, they hire me back as a consultant for more pay.
So. Is that, well, yeah. What was it that was on Adam Ruins Everything? Like they just hire people as consultants because it's either they could pay you more, but they don't have to pay you insurance.
No, I've seen it happen. People have left, and all of a sudden you're back again. Oh yeah, so not working for your company, but I'm do my own thing now. I'm a consultant. Like holy cow, and you're getting paid this much to do even less. And that's something I should learn from. Instead of disparaging it, I should actually take something away from that.
Take advantage of the situation is basically what you mean.
So just rolling my eyes and shuffling papers.
Yeah, stop shuffling the papers so loudly. I think you need to be a little louder than that if you expect anybody to hear you. You need to get mad. You need to be angry about it, and not just angry at other people or angry at the companies in which you work for, but angry at yourself because this is your life. They're not in charge of your life,
right?
I mean, for 40 hours a week they are. But
ultimately, I'm the source of all my own problems. There's outside influences, but I'm the one that's not creating solutions to problems. I can't expect somebody else to step in and fix it for me. So. Again, it just comes down to motivation and desire to put a little effort in things.
Be great instead of just okay.
Exactly, and that brings us back to our earlier conversation.
Boom. All right, well, let's put procrastination off till next week.
I think after that you could just attach the mic, drop it. Stick a fork in it.
Yeah.
We're done for the week.
Well, it's been over an hour, so I do have the interview with Tom Ameen coming up after the jump here. A really great guy. Have had him on the show a couple times to talk about different topics as well as interview him. I got to meet him back in September, which was awesome. Got to have dinner. I think it was dinner with him at what's that place called? Earl of Sandwich in Disneyland. Happiest place on earth. He's a great guy. You gotta make sure you guys stick around and listen to that. Don't forget May 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. Eastern. We're raising money for Give Kids the World for the 2-year anniversary of this show. I also think that I'm going to be putting out a sale for both of my books. Signed copies mailed by me to you for less money than you can buy them on Amazon. So that's a pretty good deal.
You know what? I'm going to jump on that because even though I have copies of both, I cannot resist the sale. So if you put it on sale...
and knowing that for so long, and knowing, if you know what Steam is, it's like iTunes for video games. He cannot resist a good sale.
I'll wait. I'll wait 2-3 years, but once it gets to 75% off, I'm in.
Yeah, well, these won't be 75% off.
Well,
but they'll be signed copies mailed by me, and I'm sure I'll have something that I can throw in there as a bonus for buying and supporting the book and books as well. Also, speaking of books, I actually had to order a bunch of books because I found out that the conference that I'm speaking at in New Jersey on June 12th, the Kittypreneur Expo, is going to have over 500 attendees at it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's crazy. So really looking forward to that. And I think I have a couple other things to announce next week that I'll be recording a live episode. I think on not this week, but the week after or something like that. Live from a conference that's happening here in South Jersey. So really looking forward to that. I'll actually be working like a quote unquote red carpet with the mic, and we'll see how that goes. So I'll have recordings from that, and we could talk about that a little bit. And yeah, so the other thing was Matt, I really appreciate you coming on and being my co-host here.
Joe, as always, I appreciate having me on the show.
You are quite welcome. And Ava is here. Her mouth is hanging open and just staring off into space because she's way tired and she needs to just close her eyes.
We've given her a lot to think about.
Yeah, she's blown away with all the information.
Maybe too much.
If you love the show, feel free. I've had a couple people reach out to me, and I really, really appreciate that. So, if you have any questions or any way I can help you or your business or just help you like find a path, right? Like for what you're looking to do. Just reach out to me at joe@superjoepardo.com. And, I always try to get back within 24 hours to any emails that I get. It's tough, with this little girl here. But I do my best.
And please do. And, Joe's a great guy. He has a lot to talk about, and he's not afraid to speak his mind. So if there's a problem, he's going to give you an answer, and he won't sugarcoat it. So, and that's honestly the best kind of advice is honest advice, and that's very hard to get, especially from somebody that's too close to the situation. That's going to tell you, well, no, it's like, look, here's why you're wrong. Here's how you can improve things. If you don't like it, get the heck out of here.
Well,
maybe not
I think I'm a little nicer than that, man. I know I've done things
a little bit nicer
that are a little bit meaner than that.
But the point is, you'll go to you'll go as far as needed to see that something happens. And sometimes people need a little kick to get moving.
I appreciate that, Matt. And yeah, definitely, I love helping people with, using my experience to be able to help you get through or figure out a path for your future and where you want to head. So, if you just want to have a conversation, that's fine. I mean, I do offer services, but I'm not even worried about that. Like, if the way I see it, Matt, is if people resonate enough with what I'm saying and how I'm going about it, then they'll want me to go and do the research with them and walk that path to whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish. So that's what it is. I love to have conversations with people and meeting people, and that's really the best reward that I can get. But it when it comes to actually getting paid for this stuff, it's only if you wanted me to help do the research and walk you through the process and accountability. So
sure.
Yeah, so I absolutely love doing it. I love doing research, and it's fun. But even more so than that, meeting people. So yeah, feel free to reach out, joe@superjoepardo.com, and so just hit me up. Let me know what's up. Okay, stay tuned for my interview with Tom Ameen.
Joe, I have a challenge for you.
What's that, Matt?
I want you to give me a way to support the Dreamers podcast that's not only easy, but it's not going to cost me any money.
Buy stuff on Amazon.
Really?
Yes. Go to superjoepardo.com/Amazon. Update your bookmark for Amazon to that link, superjoepardo.com/Amazon. Every time you make a purchase, I get money.
Joe, in the time it took you to describe that, I've already done it, and I'm a slow typer.
You know what? Why don't you go buy some Mavis typing tutor on Amazon using the superjoepardo.com/Amazon and help contribute to Dreamers Podcast.
It'll be here in 2 days, thanks to Amazon Prime.
Hey Dreamers, today I'm talking with Tom Ameen, and I love having Tom on the show. He's been on the show, I think, and I should have looked this up prior to having him on the show, but I think you've been on, this is like your fourth episode?
My third or fourth time
Third
on
or
the
fourth?
show.
Yeah. Because I know you were on for at least one Latter Day episode back when I was doing those.
Oh yeah.
At least one, but I feel like it was two, but I could be mistaken. So it's either third or fourth time. Uh, and he's here because he has released his 15th album. Admittedly, he did not know that. He thought it was 13 or 14, and here he is sitting at 15, and it's Journey to the Stars, which is all Star Wars music.
Thanks for having me on, Joe. It's always so fun to be on your podcast. You know, I actually, a lot of people don't know this, but most of the podcasts that I'm on, I actually listen to them. So I download them every week and listen to them, and I listen to yours all the time. And I love the interviews. Your guests are very inspiring, and it's really good to be back here.
Oh, well, thank you. It's good to have you back.
Well, thanks so much.
It's good to have you back on here, and I really appreciate you listening. I know that I try really hard to bring as many awesome guests as I possibly can, and as much insight as I possibly can. In fact, just recently started doing those monologues. I don't know if have you gotten a chance to listen to those?
I don't think I've listened to those yet. No.
Oh, okay. So like the first 2 weeks was what was it? Or first 3 weeks actually. So February, as of February 9th was the third episode in a row where I did an opening monologue. Though admittedly, the second and third one were not monologues because I actually had a guest. One of my brothers was here in the studio with me, and it was nice to vibe off them. And I can't wait to hear what you think of that last week, specifically last week's episode, and this week's episode as well.
I'll definitely check them out for sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you. So let's. What have you been up to outside of? I mean, obviously you have a new album. We're going to talk about that. But what have you been up to outside of putting out Journey to the Stars?
You know, I've been up to a lot lately. Actually, the Journey to the Stars was released back in December, and I actually did a kickoff concert to help promote it at a restaurant lounge called Vitello's in Studio City, California, which is where I play the piano 4 times a week. But they have a really nice jazz performance lounge upstairs, and people buy tickets, and it's like a dinner theater kind of thing. So I did a nice kickoff concert for Star Wars where I highlighted a lot of the music and all that good stuff, and it went really well, and I really liked performing at this venue. So I'm actually in the process of planning another concert, probably in March or April, I'm thinking. So I'm starting that. I'm ready to do another album. And I actually put out a tweet and Facebook post a couple weeks ago asking people. I have 3 ideas in mind, so I kind of want to get people's opinions and have them vote on what they would like me to do next. Because I would like to either do another Disney album, but this time do the Disney songbook. So like songs from the movies and that kind of stuff. Or I would like to do a Broadway themed album, or like a movie theme album, like one of those kind of things. So I'm trying to get people's opinions on what they think I should do. But the big one though was like video game album, like a video game music. I think that would be really fun. Like the old video game stuff as well, like include Mario Brothers and like all those old kind of themes, but rearrange them for piano. I think it'd be kind of interesting.
I think it would be a huge hit. Honestly, I think that there's a huge market for that kind of stuff. I don't know if you've listened to any OC Remix.
Oh, I don't think I have.
You should check that out because it's a whole community of musicians and artists that remix old like 8-bit video game music.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Specifically, I mean, my favorite one that I've ever listened to was the balance between light and dark. It was for the Final Fantasy series. Specifically for Final Fantasy VI.
Okay.
I'll have to send you the link to that afterwards. But yeah, I know you. I think you would really, really appreciate what they did there. And it was 2 albums, or actually it was 3 CDs or 4. I think it was like 4 CDs long. Yeah, they went all out for that because that game is has such a rich history and amazing. So
there's so much good music in video games that I don't know if people realize. There's because now there's like movie scores that are scoring them, like Hans Zimmer's done stuff for them. Like there's actual movie people that write the music are writing the scores for these video games now. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely taken on a life of its own. I mean, with the amount of money that's in the video game industry, it
Oh,
you know,
yes.
it tends to make sense.
Yeah, exactly. So those are kind of my options. So I'm just trying to see what the vibe is, what people would really get into, and so that's kind of what I'm working on for the near future.
Ah, that's awesome. Yeah, I remember seeing that tweet. And or actually I saw it on Facebook, and
Mhm.
yeah, I didn't know if you had made your decision yet about what you were going to do because Melissa, my wife, still really wants that Christmas album.
Yes, I know. That's one album I want to do that, Joe. I've got to do. I've had that from several people saying, "Do you have a Christmas album?" I said, "No, I've never done one." I think that would be kind of fun to do as well. But I could do that. I could do that in conjunction with another one. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
could do
yeah.
that.
I think you could because I mean, you probably know most of the songs like
Yeah,
already, and
yeah.
just to put your own spin on them would be probably not that hard.
It'd be kind of fun. And I love Christmas music, so it would be so much fun for me to do. And that's a project that I could focus on like in June or July.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, you don't wait till Christmas.
oh, no, 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 you can't. I know. Most holiday stuff is done in June, when it's 95 degrees outside and you're inside recording like White Christmas. It's kind of
And you
weird.
trying to get in the Christmas spirit.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, Tom, why don't you tell us more about Journey to the Stars?
Well, I've always wanted to do a Star Wars album because I've been a huge Star Wars fan. Of course, like with millions of other people, I grew up with the movies in the 70s. I was 8 years old when I saw the original Star Wars with my family, and I was blown away. And just, I collected the figures as a kid. I had the Millennium Falcon. I even had the like the Hoth Ice Planet little play kid. And I mean, I was into it big time. And I, of course, love the John Williams music. So I've always wanted to try to do a Star Wars album with just solo piano because I know that music would lend itself really nicely to piano because John Williams themes are so thematic and they're so like rich with the melodies are really rich and deep and very flowing. And I figured that would sound really good on piano. So I just always wanted to do it, and so I finally decided to do it last fall, and I'm so glad. I think it turned out really well. So I covered most of the main themes from the first three movies. I did include the Darth Maul song, the Duel of the Fates, which I absolutely love that
Yeah,
song.
yeah, that's a good song.
And that was a challenge for me to see, can I do this on a piano? Because, the real song has like the score, the strings are going like 16th notes and eighth, like all the way through, which is kind of hard to do on a piano when you're trying to do chords and other melodies. So I think I figured out a good way to do that. So I put that on, and then I'm really proud that I wrote an original song for this album. And it's the title song of the album, Journey to the Stars. That's the original piece. And it's kind of like my contribution to the whole Star Wars uh, world because a lot of people don't know. I do write my own music. I write all my own music for the other albums. So I really wanted to put an original song on here to kind of give my 2 cents to say, look, this is a theme. If I was writing Star Wars, I would write this theme and da da da. And I'm really proud of it. I think it turned out pretty good.
I bet it has, and I will be listening to it later today. Actually,
Awesome, awesome.
so what, like, so has your genes, your dreams
There it is.
changed, changed much since you were last on the show? Which, actually, I was just thinking, I should probably look up to see when's the last time you were on the show. I think it was like late 2014.
I think you're right. I think it was late in that year. Um, a lot, there have been some things that have changed. I'm trying to dream bigger now because I've noticed a lot of your guests that you have on the show really challenge people to dream and dream big. And that's something I think for a lot of us is hard at times to do because you naturally, I don't know, I'm more pessimistic in nature anyway. I'm just kind of the glass half empty guy, and I know a lot of people are glass half full, which I love. So I'm trying to be more like that. But with that mentality comes the chance to really dream big and say, look, like one of my big dreams, and I think I might have told you this before, is to get my Disney music into the theme parks because it would just be a perfect fit. to sell at the theme parks because it's all the theme park music on solo piano. So I recently had this idea, let's try to push for this. This is one of the big dreams that I've always wanted. So I'm actually going to be contacting Disney this week and trying to set up a meeting again where I can go in and kind of pitch the idea and give them the CDs and say that this is something that really needs to be in the parks. Can we make this happen? So that's the big dream I'm going for, like short term within the next few weeks, because I really want to do that. And that would be a dream come true for me. A big one, to say I have music in the Disney parks would be crazy. It'd be insane for me. But yeah, that's a big goal of mine. And Disney, it's hard to get in. It's not the easiest thing, but I'm gonna pursue it. I've been inspired.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I really hope that you are able to make that happen. And if you don't, give it 6 months and try again.
Right. Exactly.
Don't back down. Actually, I was just looking that up, and the last time you were on the show was February 20th, 2015, and you actually have been on the show. This is your 4th time.
Aha, all right.
Yes, because that was in February back in 2015 was a follow-up episode. We did one Latter Day episode back in October, and then you were originally on the show in 2014, July 8th, which, man, time flies.
Wow. Time goes so fast, doesn't it?
It really does, and I think having this catalog of back episodes to look back is almost like a journal for not just for my guests but for myself as well. It's like, geez, we're gonna be at 2 years of that already. Like, I mean, it's already almost the middle of February.
It's amazing. It's so amazing. I know.
It is.
That's why it's good to dream and dream big, because time goes so fast. It's another thing I'm realizing. The older I get, is what am I waiting for? Like today is the day. Carpe diem. Remember that, seize the day. It seems like, what am I really waiting for? Not like tomorrow or the next day, or I'll do it this week, et cetera. No, I'm kind of getting into that mentality. Let's try today. What's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is someone can say no. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the worst. But persistence is great, and perseverance, and I think it pays off in the end. So I've really been inspired by your podcast, Joe. All the people, they're really cool to listen to, these people. Well, they're very inspiring.
Thank you, and I'm inspired just to get to talk to people like you, doing in most cases way cooler things than what I'm doing. So
oh, come on now, you're doing a pretty cool thing. You've built this. The Dreamers podcast is really taken off. It's you've done a lot of good stuff.
Well, thank you. I'm trying, but it's tough when I talk to people that are like doing all kinds of crazy things all around the world, and I'm just here in Jersey, like.
Hey, it's one step at a time, It's one thing at a time. But I know a lot of people that I'm sure are benefiting from the work you do, because it's very inspiring. So you're helping a lot of people.
Aw. Well, I hope so, and I'm trying every day, and that's one of the reasons why for me I have to go and step forward and push myself to do things that like I didn't know that I could do before.
Sure. Exactly. It's that safety, it's that comfort zone thing, and that's another thing that I'm really trying to challenge myself on, because, like, for example, when I've done 2 concerts so far at Vitello's, upstairs in the lounge, and what I decided to do was sing at the concerts as well. So I play and sing, and a lot of people don't know that I sing. I used to sing a lot, but I mainly consider myself just a piano guy that sings, But see, people seem to really like my voice, and when I sing, I try to, just make it as presentable as I can. But people seem to really enjoy it. So when I'm upstairs at the Jazz Lounge, I actually do some singing, and that was a huge leap from my comfort zone, because I know at the piano, I'm confident enough where I know I can do the job. Like, I've been trained as a pianist. That's basically what I do, and I know I can do it. But singing opens up a whole new world for me, because I'm not a trained singer. I just open my mouth and sing. I mean, I can keep it. I'm glad that I can keep the tone and all that kind of stuff, and it sounds pretty good. But I'm not a trained singer. That's not what I've been trained to do. So that was a huge jump out of my comfort zone. But I'm really glad I did it, because now, like the second concert, I sang. This third concert that I'm planning, I'm going to plan on singing again, and people seem to really like it. And had I not done it the first time, like, I would have never known.
So
what could happen.
I mean, I know you're on like a little microphone and all, but would you care to little sing us something right now?
Oh my God, I don't know. I have these bad allergies right now because the Santa Ana winds, so I don't know.
I know. Oh, I know. I feel so bad. It's like 80 some degrees there right now.
I know. Can you believe it? It's like it's going to be 85
here.
today.
50-degree difference. It's crazy.
I know. It's insane. It's insane. But yeah, so I do sing up there. I do sing upstairs, and it's a lot of fun. When I did the Disney show, I did a lot of I sang a lot of songs that I sang from Disney as a kid. Like I did the Freaky Friday theme song, I'd Like to Be You for a Day, from the original Freaky Friday. I sang Candle on the Water from Pete's Dragon. Like all these really cool songs that I loved. It was a lot of fun. Really cool.
I'm sure it was. Now, with you didn't sing for the Star Wars concert, did you?
Well, I did, because what I did was I made it a movie night. It was like a focus on Star Wars, but it was a let's go to the movies kind of night. So kind of like Journey to the Stars. So I did Star Wars stuff, but I also did like other instrumentals, like Back to the Future. I did Jurassic Park. I did E.T. But then I sang songs from movies that I loved. Like I did Hello Again from the Jazz Singer. And I also sang, what was the other song? I sang, you're going to laugh, but when I was a kid, I was in love with the Benji movies. That was like these set of movies about a dog in the 70s. And like the dog helps rescue like kidnapped kids. And I loved this dog. But it had a great song called I Feel Love. It was like the main theme of the movie. So I sang that. And I sang White Christmas because it was Christmas time. So I did like that kind of stuff.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, that's cool. Very cool.
It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I just wasn't sure because I don't think there's like much words to most of the Star Wars songs.
No, not unless you're going to sing that Darth Maul song, but you need a choir.
Thing.
You gotta have a choir to do that. So yeah.
Tom, has there been any new roadblocks for you in the last year?
There has been several. I think, well, first, living in California, it's very expensive out here. And pursuing your dream, which is great, but you still need to pay bills. You know what I mean? You still need to have money to pay rent and pay the bills and feed my cat, all that good stuff. So I'm always in the struggle of pursuing the bigger stuff, but also pursuing things that I can do to get money to live, like playing at a restaurant, playing at private events and weddings and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of hustle a lot to try to get more income coming in just to pay bills so I can pursue the bigger stuff. So one of the roadblocks for me is just having, trying to find enough work to be able to pay bills. And I do okay. I mean, trust me, I'm not rolling in money at all, anything like that, but I do enough where I can pay my rent, I can pay my car payment, and I can, go pursue the dream. So I would say that's probably my biggest roadblock right now, is just that struggle. But, it's not like it's a depressing struggle. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like okay, what can I do today to make this better? It's a challenging struggle, I think. But I would consider that a roadblock for me, because at times it can kind of get you down, and you just have to fight to stay positive and be like, you know what? So many people go through this. There are so many people that are struggling with things in their life. I'm no different, and I'm just trying to pursue this dream out here. So I think that's probably my biggest roadblock right now. I'm very fortunate that I live in a great city where there's so much opportunity. And that's why I moved out to California. So that's the plus side of the struggle, is that I'm living in a great, town where there's so much work that if you can find it, it's great to have, So I don't know. Does that answer the question? that was a big mumbling like thought process, but
no, it does. I mean, bills are very real. The cost of, of living is not free.
Right.
Freedom isn't free, for sure.
Right.
So
true.
You have to do, and I know you do other things other than just play music too. But
yes,
you have been fortunate to not, I don't think, at least that I know of, have to have like a full-time job.
No, I used to have that. I did, and then I quit to pursue the dream more full time. But right now, I've been very fortunate where I do not have to have a full-time job, because I also do, like, as a side job, we've talked about this before, but I do some dog walking and dog sitting. And, if people are on my Facebook, they can see, like, I post pictures of the pups and everything. And it's a lot of fun for me. It's an enjoyable, like, part-time job for me. So I really enjoy that. But yeah, I do other things to try to bring money in as well.
Yeah, and that's important though, because dog walking or dog sitting is not like a full-time thing where you can do it, you can make some money at it, you can kind of do it, on your terms rather than, 8 to 5 every day or 9 to 5 every day, something like that, where you get done and it's like, okay, well, I'm kind of tired now. I need to relax because tomorrow I got to go back to work and do it again.
Exactly. I mean, I have had full-time jobs before. I totally get it. I've had jobs where I've worked 13, 14-hour days. And it is exhausting when you get home. There's not much time, energy for anything else. But I know there's ways around things. I know that when a person really decides, look, I want to pursue this, I have to figure it out. I have to figure out how to pay bills and pursue the dream. Where there's a will, there's a way, and people usually find it.
If you want it bad enough, you will pursue it to find those answers.
I agree with you. I agree.
So has there been a recent favorite memory for you?
Favorite memory? Let's see. I had a couple really good memories around Christmas time and around the holidays. I've always wanted to surprise my niece and nephews. I have a sister that's married in Ohio with 4 kids. And I have a niece and 3 nephews. And I've always wanted to surprise them for a holiday and come home and not tell them. Well, now the kids are older. My niece is in college now, but she was home for Thanksgiving. And then my youngest nephews are like 10 and 12. And I thought this is the time to do it. If I'm not going to do it this year, I'm never going to do it. And the kids are getting too old anyway. So I said, let's do it this year. So I did. For Thanksgiving, I completely surprised them. My parents knew and my sister knew. And it was so cool because I got home. This is Cleveland, Ohio is where I'm from. So I flew from California to Ohio. And my parents drove me. They picked me up at the airport and then drove me over to the house. And then my mom walked in first so she could get her camera ready and take a movie. So that's what she did. And then my dad walked in and my mom's like, look what dad found. Look what dad found at the airport or something. And then I walked in and the kids were just so excited. They couldn't believe it. It was really, really cool. So that's one of my favorite memories now, because it's something I've always wanted to do. And to now say that I've done it and to see the kids' reactions, it was priceless. Even the dog, Tornado, he was so excited to see me. He was like jumping on me. It was really, really neat. So that's one of my favorite memories from the holidays.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I'm glad that you were able to not only do it, but to have the money to be able to do it too, because obviously that's not cheap.
No. Yeah.
Totally worth it.
It was totally worth it. It was really cool. So I did that, and I had one other really good holiday memory. I have to tell you this quick little story. I was doing some dog sitting where I was actually staying over at the people's house for 10 days. And they lived in the hills of Hollywood. So it's a really nice area, and you go up these the hills and all this kind of stuff. But I had to constantly be going back and forth because I had a lot of gigs, and then taking care of my cat, and then playing at the restaurant and playing music, all this kind of stuff. I was starting to get worn out because, again, I was having like 13-hour days, like, oh my gosh. But then there was a Saturday night, and I got hired to play at this party on the west side of town. It was just a cute little house. The people were really nice. The house was decorated so nicely for Christmas. It was just beautifully done. They had a really nice little grand piano and they had the Christmas tree was like in the nook of the piano. It was really nice. So I got to the house and I was like frazzled, because I'd already been like a 8-hour day. But something happened when I got in there. I said, you know what? It's Christmas time. This house is beautiful. These people are really nice. Let's just enjoy this. Listen, and I was playing Christmas music the whole time. So it was really, really fantastic. And it actually turned out to be a really good memory for me. And it was really cool. And it changed my whole attitude for the whole rest of the week. Because I was like, it's Christmas time. Let's have fun. This is exciting. So that was probably a really good memory for me as well.
It sounds awesome. Too bad you don't live out here. I'd hire you to come play Christmas music at my dad's house.
Nice. Oh, does your dad have a piano?
Yeah, he surprisingly does.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. It's a really big one at that. At that. Does he play
Oh,
piano? No, he doesn't. But he would like to learn at some point. But it plays itself, so
there you
that's
go.
something.
There you go. You can always do that, right?
Yeah, but it's not the same as having
know.
Tom Ameen in the house. Come on now.
Thank you. I get it.
I gotta say though, I really enjoyed back in September of 2015. I got to meet you in person, so I don't think I've gotten to mention that on the show, and it was a great time. We got to enjoy a sandwich at Earl Sandwich.
Now, if we're going that far back, then absolutely, that was another great memory for me. It was so nice to meet you. We finally got to hang out. We ate lunch at Earl's Sandwich, walked around at downtown Disney here in California. It was awesome. We had a really good time.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, man, I was actually like really upset after I left that trip. Like as a whole, like that I was there for like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah,
I was like really down in the dumps for about 4 or 5 days after I got home, because it's like a withdrawal of like awesome, getting to be in Disneyland and it being so vastly different from what I'm used to at Disney World, and
true,
and all the people that I've gotten to see while I was out there, and it was just an awesome time. That I don't know that I've had that kind of a withdrawal in a long time, like from a Disney World trip perspective.
Sure. Oh, that's awesome. That means you need to come back.
Yes, I do. Maybe once we get Ava going and all that, right. I could definitely see it in the cards coming back to LA and spending some time down there.
Yeah, Ava's going to take top priority for a while, though.
Yeah.
That's understandable.
Well, coming into this world it's a cold, hard place, and it needs lots of loving and hugs.
I'm sure you're going to give her so much love. You guys are going to be awesome parents. I'm sure of it.
Oh, well, thank you, Tom.
I'm sure of it. And then you got to get her acclimated to Disney, and you're all set.
Yes, we do. We're going to get there. That's for sure.
Awesome.
So, Tom, all right. So you got Journey to the Stars out. You're looking at your next album. What topic you're looking at to do? What do your dreams look like for the future? I know you already kind of talked a little bit about pursuing the Disney thing. Did you say later today?
Yeah, actually this week I'm going to try to get a meeting set up. So that's
awesome.
One of my I'm really fingers crossed for that. So I'm trying to do that. And long-term goals for the next year would be, again, like to do another album, maybe 2 of them, maybe do a Christmas album this year. That would be kind of cool. And really start to bring the career up to the next level. I would like to get some bookings in some higher end events. Like I would love to do a D23 at some point. I would love to maybe even get to perform in a Disney park. I think would be awesome. Like even here at Disneyland, like they have different performers and stuff. I would love to do that. And I got to tell you, one of my dreams as well, which may not be a big, huge thing for a lot of people, but I want to play at Club 33. Because they have a huge grand piano in there now. And I was fortunate enough that I've been there twice to eat dinner. I have been in there twice. But I would love to play the piano in there for a dinner service one night. And can you imagine like just playing all this Disney music and stuff? Like I could interweave it between big band music and stuff. But I think people would get a kick out of it. But that's another big dream of mine. But the general goal, Joe, is just to kind of go up to the next level now. Try to get some higher end events, always try to improve my music, always try to play better than it's always that kind of stuff too, is try to challenge yourself to be a little bit better than I was the day before.
Definitely.
So that kind of stuff. And who knows, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if I could promise this, but maybe I might sing on one of the albums. Maybe I'll do like a song or something where I'd like sing one of the tracks. I don't know. I don't know. That could be interesting.
You might fall in love with it and want to do a whole album.
Oh my gosh! Can you imagine? I know. But those are kind of my my general long-term goals for the next year.
Yeah, I wonder how much a D23 or not a D23, a Club 33 piano man makes on like tips.
I wonder. Interesting. I know, it'd be interesting.
Work like 3 nights out of the year and have enough money to survive.
Oh, no, I don't think it's that much. No. I think though at a place like Club 33, I don't think you would have a tip jar there.
Probably
because it's
not.
the higher end places usually don't do that, which is fine. I mean, because you don't want to be asking people for money if they're paying so much money for the food anyway.
Just to have a membership there is ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, Joe, it's insane, isn't it? Isn't it like the waiting list? Like you can't even get in right now, can you?
No, there's a way. It's at least a couple years.
Wow.
I remember somebody had told me, and even then, it's like I don't know how many thousands of dollars just to be a member.
Oh, it's like a huge amount of money.
Isn't it
like
10 a year?
Yeah, it's like 10,000 or something.
Something like. I feel like I should Google this because I'm sure somebody is probably like, "Oh, Joe, you were so wrong, and you should know." Let's see, Club 33.
It's a lot of money. That I know.
$10,000 per year dining club.
Wow.
And it opened in 1967. It costs $10,000 a year and has a $25,000 initiation fee per person. I knew it was more than that. I knew it was like in the 20, but I wasn't sure if that was a year or not. But $10,000 a year, and the waiting list is probably let's see, 2015 waiting list.
Oh my god!
It's probably at least a couple of years, I would think.
Joe, do you realize that that's $35,000, like your first year? I can't $35,000
to be able to go and pay them to eat there.
That is insanity.
Because the food's not free. The food's not included.
No,
I mean, there's other perks, but even still, like.
We had a good deal though when we went. I went with a friend of mine who belongs in a band, and their band was playing at the Disney park. I think on a Sunday. Like their band was playing in the parade or something. So they were allowed to ask people to come because we were with members. Because the two people that created the band are members of Club 33. So they were allowed to ask some of the band to come. So that's how I got in. A friend of mine who's a trumpet player in the band, he invited me to go. And I got to tell you, guess what? It was only $100 for the day. We got to eat at the club and we got the pass to get into the park. So it was only $100 for the day and to eat at Club 33.
Wow.
It was like that's a really good deal.
So for anybody that's curious at this point, there's actually cheaper memberships, right? There's a gold membership. It is only available to existing members, and the annual dues are $3,600.
Okay.
But that includes 2 premium annual passes, 50 park hopper tickets per year for friends and family, the ability to reserve meals at Club 33, free valet parking, 6 instant fast passes per year, and an annual renewal gift. Now the platinum is the $25,000 initiation and $10,000 due, and you get 4 annual premier annual passes, which are good at both Disneyland and Disney World. 50 park hopper tickets, 5 VIP tours per year, ability to reserve meals at Club 33, access to 1901 Lounge in DCA, access to Club 33 member services, which makes all your reservations, arrangements, hotel, restaurant, VIP Fantasmic viewing, VIP for World of Color, etc. Automatic upgrade at all 3 Disneyland Resort hotels, and access to Concierge Lounge. Free valet parking at Grand Floridian, Grand Californian.
California, okay.
6 instant fast passes per visit and an annual renewal gift. Now here's the big one. It gets more expensive.
Oh gosh.
For $40,000 initiation fee.
Get out.
The annual dues of $10,000, you will get it's called the Executive Corporate Membership. You get 2 premier annual fast passes, 100 park hoppers per year for employees or clients, 5 VIP tours per year, ability to reserve meals at Club 33, 1901 Lounge access in DCA, all the reservation services, automatic upgrades to the Concierge Lounge at the Disneyland Resorts, free valet parking at Grand Californian, and 6 instant fast passes plus an annual renewal gift. And there's also affiliate membership stuff as well. So actually, when you break that down, the $3,600 one is not that bad.
Right.
I mean, but that's only after you've been a member. So you
Right.
still have to buy into 25,000, and then you get $10,000 per year, I guess, for the
Right.
first year, or maybe that's after. I would imagine it's after, and then
Right.
you get. Then you can go down. You can downgrade yourself to the $3,600 package, which doesn't include a Walt Disney World pass. Which, I mean, I guess if you have that kind of money and you really love Disney, then you probably would want to keep the $10,000.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, if you can afford, I mean, if you have that kind of money, and if you're a big fan, I mean, you could just go all the time.
That's true. Yeah, this is so it's better. All right, so I was under the impression that you were paying like 25 grand and $10,000 a year just for the privilege to go into Club 33, which is a restaurant, and then pay for your meal on top of that.
Right.
Which to me seemed like a slap in the face. It's like, I just gave you $35,000, and now you want me to pay for the meal too?
Oh my gosh.
Like, come on now. So now that we're way off course,
I know. That's a dream. We can dream, right?
Yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there, man.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. One step at a time. One foot in front of the other. Oh, and the waiting list. Let's see. Until 2012, there was a long waiting list of 800 names waiting to join Club 33. In fact, Disney didn't add any new members for about 10 years.
Wow. Okay.
As of May 2012, it is accepting new applications, though you're not guaranteed you'll receive an invitation to join. If you're interested, there's an email. Wow, that email address is weird. DLR Club 33 membership at Disney.com is the email address you need to email.
There you go. Anyone who wants to take it on, go for it.
I would think it would just be like 33 at Disney.com or something like that.
Right, or
something
Club
like that. 33 at the... whatever. Anyway, Tom, before we wrap up here, is there any last thoughts you'd like to share?
I'd like to share a little bit of what I spoke about before. I think taking each day and seeing what can I do differently than yesterday that will help me fulfill whatever dream I want to do, whether it's a small dream, a big dream, long-term goal, a short-term goal. I think each day needs to look a little bit different than the last one. So that's what I'm trying to do in this new year. I say go for your dreams, find a way to make it happen. And another important fact that I know people have spoken on your show before, but surround yourself with some people that support you and that encourage you to go after that, because that really makes a big difference as well, to have a good support team behind you. But life is short. I'm 46 now, and just the older I get, the more I realize it's short, and just go for it. What are we waiting for? Just try it out today and see what happens.
Well, Tom, I'm glad that you, regardless of how old you are, you're still willing to push the boundaries and,
Thank you.
And all that. So, and I think I told you this when I met you down out in California, that I didn't think you were that old.
Thank you very much.
Like at all. Like that. I just assumed you were in like your maybe mid-30s.
Oh, that's nice. Well, I got to tell you, the only thing that makes me sad, because getting old is like, to me right now, it's not a big deal. It's like, who cares? Really. The only thing for me though is that my eyesight is going, because I always had good eyesight, but now like I need my reading glasses to read. You know what I mean? Things are really blurry, and I thought, oh, it's happening. And people always told me, yeah, mid-40s, just wait. Because I was like, oh, I have good eyesight. They're like, oh, wait till you're mid-40s.
Oh.
But so that's a little bit bummer, but it really is just an age. There are people, we live in a world today where you can do just about anything at any age. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
I agree. Plus, age makes you distinguished at this point.
True.
So
absolutely.
So yeah, no, it's a good thing. And it's a good thing you're not playing sports, because you'd be on the outs,
or
would have been on the outs a long time ago. Actually,
that's true. That's a good point. It's true.
But with playing music, you're distinguished in your age. So it's good. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I like that. Thanks, Joe. I like that.
You're very welcome. I would love share how people can connect with you, Tom.
They can go to my website, which is Tom Ameen Music, and that's AMEEN. So TomAmeenMusic.com. You can send me an email if you want, and they have and then on the website is all the links where you could buy the music, buy the Star Wars stuff. You could catch up with me on Twitter and Facebook. I love Twitter, so if you ever want to shoot me off of Twitter, I try to respond as much as I can. Yeah, so catch me on Twitter at Tom Ameen or at Facebook Tom Ameen, and it's the best way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, of course, I will have those in the show notes and link to your previous episodes here on Dreamers Podcast.
Nice.
Tom, it's been awesome having you on the show again, and of course, you're always welcomed anytime, anywhere. Just let me know.
Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate it. I had a wonderful time.
Awesome. I did too. Thank you again.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Dreamers Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Dreamers Podcast. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Dreamers Podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the Dreamers Podcast, please send an email to j@jpar.co. This podcast is copyright 2014 by jpar.co.